Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Bella, and today I'm so happy to have Brian with me from Stone Edge Countertops. Stone Edge is a family owned countertop company based in Caseville, Utah, and they have been crafting beautiful natural stone and quartz countertops since 2009. Brian runs the business together with his father, Javier, and over the years, they have built a name in the community for honest work and high quality craftsmanship. Today, we are going to focus on something a little different. Instead of talking to homeowners, we are diving into the world of builders and contractors. We will talk about what makes a great partnership between a fabricator and a builder, the small details that really make a difference, and what Brian has learned from working alongside some of the best builders in the area. If you want to learn more about Stone Edge countertops, you can find the website link right in the description below. All right, let's get started. Brian, thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Of course, yeah, that's good to hear. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Perfect. So let's get started.
Okay.
Brian, you have been working with builders for so many years now. When a builder reaches out to Stone Edge for the first time, most of them have already worked with someone else before.
Right.
From your experience, what are the things they complain about the most?
A lot of times it's communication. It's important when I first talk to a builder, I always try to get an idea of what was missing in the last relationship they had with another fabricator. And usually I get a combination of communication, a little bit of accountability from the fabricator, and as well as just the way they handle and the quality of their work and the interaction they have with the client the builder is working with. Those are the big things that suffer a lot of the times with people's relationships with the builder. I always tell them I'm the kind of guy that likes to get back to them. I don't like leaving things hanging there. Finding answers is super important. Getting things, giving that peace of mind to the builder as well as the client, right? So if the client has a question, the builder's usually the one to relay that question to me. And then I always like to deal with the client as quickly as I can to get them those answers. One of the things I like to do personally is if the builder allows, I like to have that direct line of communication with the client. That way I'm not doing a relay type of communication where I got to talk to the builder talks to the client, and then the client asks the question to a builder, and then the builder has to ask me, and then it's back and forth, right? I like to cut straight to the client. However, the important part with that is I try to keep the builder looped in on what's important as much as possible. So there's no surprises. After I have a conversation with the client, then I'll call the builder and say, hey, talk to the client. Here are the important things that we talked about. They like these changes, and keep him in the loop and make sure that some of those changes, work order changes, are allowed within the scope of the work. That's a big one.
I love that. That kind of consistency is so rare these days, and I'm sure builders really feel the difference. Let's talk a little bit about the craft side now. Seams are one of those small details that a homeowner is going to look at for the next 20 years. How does your team think about seam placement and matching, especially on those big custom islands?
Yeah, a lot of the time, the biggest things to always think about is the flow of a kitchen, the layout of a kitchen affects seam placement, how vein matching is going to occur, and educating the client that, hey, we're going to have some seams. Um, One, it's usually due to material constraint, and the other is the type of stone we're using, right? You can get away with less seams with like a quartz countertop. versus some natural stones that are a little more fragile, maybe a little more delicate to work with. And we try to minimize those seams as much as we can, but in order to try to get them to look good, one of the biggest things is the flow. The kitchen layout is a big thing that a lot of people don't link into, and a lot of time isn't communicated with the client, and then you usually end up with surprises and a seam that's in the middle of their island. And right now I'm actually working on a job where they have a seam on their island, and they were asking me, well, what could we have done to prevent a seam? And they've already framed, it's an outdoor kitchen. They've already framed all the bases for their outdoor kitchen. And they called me once everything was framed and pretty much ready to template. And at that point, there's not much that can be done. If they had reached out to me as or before they were framing, I could have said, hey, if you don't want to seam, make sure your framing is within this parameter. Now, I don't know that would have made a difference in this case because they do want a really large island. They want to do a lot of entertainment on this island. And the question then becomes like, what's more important, having no seam or having enough room on an island to entertain the guests that you're planning on entertaining? And in this case, I think the island size, the way it is, makes sense. And having that seam is a result of that. But I don't think that the client will regret it. And I had that conversation with them before we begin the work so they know exactly what they're going to get. Because sometimes, even if there's no possible way to avoid a seam, people still just don't like that surprise, right? And they like to know ahead of time what to expect. And that's what we try to do with them.
Good. That's such a thoughtful way of looking at it. You can really feel the care behind every single piece. And yes, you're so right. Already. Now, I want to ask you about the schedule side. Builders are juggling so many trades at once: plumbers, electricians, cabinet installers, tile guys, and the schedule changes almost every week.
Mm-hmm.
How does your team handle a job site where the timelines keep shifting?
We try to be as flexible as we can. There are some jobs where it's you can have that job ready to go. We can shift around an install date if we need to. Try to get in there so the builder can stay on his schedule as much as possible. The problems that a lot of times we come across are details that maybe we weren't told ahead of time, and then when we get to a job site, there's things that either weren't ready for us, and so then we have to reschedule. I try to be as much as flexible as I possibly can. There are people that will reschedule 2 to 3 weeks later. I don't like to do that. I like to get in there as quickly as we can, and if we have to work a little overtime to get that install done and keep the builder on his timeline, that's great. I don't like being pushed by other trades if I don't have to be, especially when it comes to some higher end builds where they're using very delicate materials, when they're using high end materials like marbles or quartzites, because those things take time. Those details take time. The edging, the backsplashes, whatever it is, take time to get right. And what ends up happening on a job that gets rushed is we try to do it, mistakes happen, details get missed. We end up having to come back over and over to that job site. And then by the time we're done, that timeline is actually longer than if we would have waited one more week to get everything completed and then installed on the timeline that we normally like to have. But instead, you're having to go back, fix issues here, there, little details that aren't coming together right with the cabinet maker, with the plumber, with this. It's, oh, we forgot that there's going to be these holes drilled for the faucets or the soap dispenser or whatever it is, right? And I try to do a thorough job and ask as much as I can. Hey, how many holes are we drilling? Hey, are we doing this? Hey, is this going to be a detail? And sometimes they say no, and turns out it needs to get done after the fact. And again, we're coming back even after weeks afterwards to finish a job.
Yeah, that kind of flexibility makes such a big difference, especially when everyone else on site is depending on you.
Yeah.
hmm Okay. And one thing I really wanted to ask you about is your team.
Yes.
When a builder hires Stone Edge, who actually shows up to template? Who is cutting the stone in the shop? And who is on site for install? And why does it matter so much that it is the same people every time?
It matters because the details of a job, there's a lot of, especially nowadays, things, even a basement remodel, even just a basic kitchen remodel, they're getting highly detailed. And people are wanting more in their own kitchens. Every job's got details. And a lot of times there are big companies that have a salesperson. That salesperson sells the job, hands it off to the manufacturing line. The manufacturers and the fabricators really don't know anything about that job. All they're doing is taking that work order, that paperwork, they're cutting, and then they have nothing to do with the install. Then you have a team of installers who are just constantly installing jobs on a daily basis. And then there's sometimes project managers, but again, those project managers are usually different from the salesperson, and so then the salesperson always has to relay information. There's always fixes. With us, everything's in house, so we have our own team of guys fabricating. I'm the one that usually sells the jobs. We have our office management here also sells jobs. Her name's Carla, and she's good at what she does, but we're keeping track and communicating directly with the shop, as and we're also checking in on those jobs at the shop to make sure those details are getting done right. So I go out and I do the measurements myself. I do the templates myself. I mark all the details that the client is wanting. I relay that information to the shop, and then I'm also working directly with our install guys, right? So we have some in-house guys that do all the installs, where I can communicate those details with them directly, and it helps minimize those mistakes, those things, those change orders that need to get fixed or done. And then we try, and if there's always something, every job's always going to have something missing, and then we just try to get out there as soon as we can to get those things done for the builder or for the client.
Yeah, that is really beautiful having the same faces from start to finish. That builds so much trust.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the homeowner side.
Yeah.
A lot of builders tell us their clients get completely overwhelmed walking into a slab yard. How do you help a homeowner feel confident picking the right material without slowing down the builder's project?
Um, the big one is one, getting in early as possible. I think a lot of people underestimate when they're needing countertops. One thing I try to educate people on is when they're selecting materials. One, I give them the information on all the different materials, and I also try to get whatever information they have. And a lot of times people will come, well, they read things online, and I try to, okay, get that information first and then go from there. And then I send them to slab yards where I think they'll have the best time looking, or slab yards that have the selections of what they're looking for. Um, and I'd like to get that early on because most people will wait till they've picked out their cabinets, their paint, their flooring, all this kind of stuff. Okay, then we get to the countertops. I talked to a painter not too long ago. One of the biggest things he does is he actually has clients that are looking at countertops. They like to pick first on those colors because you can pick a color of a countertop, and that countertop color won't really change. You can't like tweak it little by little. Paint, you can tweak it a little bit. The stain, you can tweak a little bit. There's thousands of different flooring colors that are very similar. But the countertop's the countertop. That you can't tweak. And so you choosing your countertop first and then revolving the rest of the design around the countertop is a good way to go about it, because you pick your counters first, you get those bought and prepared ahead of time. And then all the other things just kind of fall into place after the fact. That's usually how I like to approach it. And then I give them the right information. So when they go to the slab yards, I say, hey, look, when you go to the slab yards, based on your budget, you want to tell them that, hey, you're looking for this to this, and stay within those parameters.
Mhm.
That way, their budget doesn't blow out of proportion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it, and I really love your educational approach. It makes the whole process feel so much more personal.
All right.
And speaking of education, something I hear so often is the fear around materials like marble and quartzite. People get told these stones will stain or etch, so they should just avoid them. As someone who works with these stones every day, what do you wish more builders understood about natural stone?
There's a beauty to them that you can't get from anything else. I live in a place where a lot of people like to build indestructible. They like to, from siding on a house to paint to flooring, railing, everything they choose on a house. They choose synthetic materials, right? Like from stucco to certain siding materials because they want something that lasts a long time. And I understand that. However, I don't think I've ever come across a material in any industry or any trade that is indestructible. And some of those synthetic materials, when they break or scratch or crack or whatever it is, they just look horrible because it shows, it's very obvious. Now, when it comes to natural stone, things like marble, then an example I like to use is like, well, look at Europe. We have a Capitol building that's made out of lobbies, completely out of marble. There's old buildings that are using these marble natural stones, and they've been there for decades, and they look so good. They look great. There's no substitute for them, and they wear well. And that's where I try to help people understand is like, hey, look, I know it's scary because we do just live in this culture where everybody wants indestructible, and they think that that's the way to go. And we're kind of learning nowadays that it's not the case. And some of these materials just have a beauty about them that I think is worth the sacrifice. It's worth the risk on some of this stuff. It's what I would want in my own home with some of these,
Yeah.
marbles. I love marbles. I think they're a fantastic material to use, even in a kitchen. I'm not afraid of that. And I just give people that education. And usually I just ask them, like, hey, well, what's most important to you? And create a hierarchy of priorities, what they want out of a kitchen. When usually it's like, well, I want aesthetics, or I want durability, or I want this, or I want that. And
Mhm.
then I just match the client with that kind of material. And some people just come already, hey, I want marble. I just need to understand what it is exactly. And I give them that
Mhm.
information. By the time I'm done, usually they're like, okay, cool, that sounds good to me. Let's go for it.
Good, exactly. It's almost like giving yourself permission to enjoy the natural beauty of the stone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now, countertops are kind of in the middle of everything in a construction project. Cabinets have to be in first, plumbing, roughing needs to be done, and then tile comes after. How does Stonehenge coordinate with the other trades so nobody on the job site is waiting around?
The biggest thing I like to do is usually I just have the builder. He should be the one that coordinates schedules and things like that. Sometimes a homeowner lets take a project on their own, and if those in those cases, it's like I try to ask them what their plans are when they're trying to get things done by. I give them my timeline so they know, and then they can schedule their stuff
Mhm.
once I get in there. And usually we're pretty on time. We're within a day or two of getting something done. Again, the biggest things that throw off a schedule is just change orders, right? It's like if we have a day plan and then all of a sudden a client says, "Oh, I want a full high backsplash," and then, oh, okay, well, we need to buy more material. Do we need to prep the wall? What needs to happen to get that done? And it takes time. And so, trying to get everything from the very beginning is crucial to staying on schedule. And then again, just communication with the builder and understanding what his time frame is on a project is important. And understanding that you can't sacrifice quality, right? Like whenever something gets rushed, something always happens, and that timeline usually ends up being off anyway. So trying to have that good communication with that builder, that ability, like I text my builders all the time. They're constantly, hey, dude, like here's something happened, it's changed. Can we push it off a day or a week? Cool. No problem. I
Mhm.
rearrange, make a couple calls, move a few installs. Okay, hey, I got you down. Whenever I'm at a job site, it's like I like to communicate with the other trades directly. I like to find the plumber. I like to find the cabinet guy. I like to find whoever. I like to get them on my side, get friendly with them, try not to be a jerk to them, and usually become friends with them. So then they're willing to also work with me. There's
Mhm.
always a lot of this attitude of, hey, oh crap, here's the tile guy, here's the countertop guy, here's this. Great. We're all on top of each other. People get annoyed. There's this pressure from everybody. And usually I like to break that pressure, break the ice with them, and get friendly with them. And as soon as I do, the attitude changes. It's like they're more than happy to help me out. They're more than happy to, oh, cool. I'll get out of your way and go work over here while you put on the island, and then I'll come back.
Mhm.
And it works and it comes together, right? And that's something that I really like to do with all the trades.
Awesome, awesome. And you mentioned that you handle everything in-house, so I'm sure like good teamwork helps in that way as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
communication with my team's important. If I have some guys at a job site, it's like I like them to communicate. And sometimes they'll call me and say, hey, plumbers are here, cabinet guys are here doing this, that, and we can't get to install. And I just kind of have to communicate with them. Guys, there's a solution to this, right? Like talk to them. Let them know that you're there to install the countertops. And if you can work on a certain area and then stay out of the way for a bit and then just let them know, hey, maybe in an hour we'll come back to this area and we'll finish this area.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
usually, oh, okay, they do that, they communicate, okay, the work keeps going, the work keeps moving.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I understand how organized you are and your team is, and that's awesome.
Oh, for sure.
Already. Every project hits a bump at some point, right? A
Hmm.
slab cracks, a measurement is off by 16th, something happens.
Yeah.
When things go sideways on a builder's job, how does your team handle it?
I usually like to have them contact me on those things. If it's a small thing that they can fix, then I do give them that flexibility to do so. I don't think every little thing needs to be thrown down the pipeline. It's like I do like my guys to take a little bit of initiative to just get some of those things done.
Hmm.
If for whatever reason something's a little bit bigger, I don't like my guys throwing promises around that they shouldn't be. And so that's when I step in. I communicate with the client, communicate with the builder, come up with ideas. Some can be our fault, and sometimes there are other things where it's just a combination of things coming together that there's little gaps or little details between the cabinet, the appliance guys, this or that. And then we try to figure out, okay, where that disconnect came from first, and then see if there's solutions. Ultimately, the goal is the client has to be happy. If a client isn't happy, then we got to do something for that. And if it's our fault, I like to take accountability on
Hmm.
what we did and get it fixed quick. And if it's somebody else, I don't like to just put the blame and say, well, you're the builder and you didn't do this, or you're the cabinet guy and you forgot to tell us that there was going to be panels here and not there. It's, hey guys, let's collaborate. Let's work as a team. What can the cabinet guy do? What can the builder do? What can I do? How can we come together, create a solution that the client's going to be happy with, put it together, execute? Cool.
Hmm.
A lot of times, what's hard is when a mistake happens, there's this attitude sometimes where someone, whoever did that wrong thing, whether it's his fault or not, let's put him out to dry. Let's hang him out to dry, fix it. There's this pressure on him to just get it fixed. And that can be hard to do because there's all eyes are on you. You got to get it fixed and you got to do it right. And all the expenses, every little thing, even if it wasn't completely your fault, it gets put on you. And that's a lot of pressure. And a lot of times that fix may not come out as good as it can be. But when people collaborate together, the builder, whoever, all the different trades that need to be involved come together, do a collaborative team solution, it spreads the load. And a lot of times those solutions become even better than they were before. And the client becomes super
Right.
happy.
Yeah.
And no one gets put down. The builder maintains a status, all the trades are happy. Everyone's working well together. Everyone gets good sleep at night.
That's a really good way to approach it. And I think the way a company handles problems really shows who they are that kind of honesty is so important, and accountability, and taking the responsibility and working together for the clients, homeowners' happiness is so valuable, and
Oh,
it's
for
a
sure.
very good approach. Yes. Okay, Brian, for my last question, I want to ask you something a little different.
Yeah.
If a builder is sitting down today looking for a new countertop partner, what should they be looking for, and what are some red flags that should make them walk away?
I think one of the things they should look for is how a countertop company fabricates. And just because a countertop company has fancy machinery and all this equipment and technology doesn't mean that they know always what they're doing. And so asking the right questions on how details are managed are important, how the process works of fabricating a countertop, who's got eyes on the counter on the project. That's very important. And also, there are shops out there that aren't using the proper equipment too. They cheap out and they like to undercut the competition. There's a reason why good fabricators charge what they do, what they charge. And it's important to understand the industry a little bit because there's health involved in people working in this industry. There's safety, there's quality things and details that make a difference in a kitchen and how it comes together. Experience is important as well. And so red flags for me are just people that overpromise, people that are like, "Hey, yeah, we're perfect, we're amazing, and we do this and we do that and this and that." And anyone can say that. Anyone can put on their website, "Hey, um, here's we're the best, 5-star service, all this stuff, blah blah blah, and we're the greatest." Um, but I like to be honest. It's like I like to give them a little bit of honesty and explain to them, like, "Hey, nothing's perfect, but we'll figure it out." Right? That's the big thing is we'll figure it out. And I think one of those things too that a builder should ask is like, "Hey, how do you go about solving problems? What's how do you react under pressure and when things occur on a job site?" That's also a big one. And that's where I try to. That's really where I try to put a lot of value because there's always something that goes wrong, and my instinct is never to go like, "Well, it was that guy," or "Where you didn't tell me," or "Where this or that." It's like number one rule when working with the builders: don't make them look dumb. Your job is to make him look good and keep his status with his client where it needs to be. And that's what I try to do: just keep the clients happy, give them that confidence, and make their builder look good. And that's the big one too, right? Is and everybody's happy, right? That's the big thing.
Yeah, yeah. Those are such helpful tips. I think any builder listening can take those and use them right away.
Oh, for sure.
Brian, this has been such a wonderful conversation. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you would like to add? Maybe something we didn't get the chance to talk about that you feel is important for our listeners?
No, no, I think we've touched base on I mean important parts. At the end of the day, it's about the client. They're paying good money. We got to make them happy. That's the thing.
That's right. That's right. Brian, thank you again for taking the time to be with us today. It is always so nice to hear the story behind the craft and to feel the passion that you and your family put into every project at Stone Edge Countertops.
Yeah.
For anyone watching or listening, if you want to learn more about Stone Edge Countertops, their team, and any of the topics we talked about today, you can find the website link right in the description below. Go check them out, especially if you are a builder, contractor, or homeowner in Utah looking for a trusted countertop partner. Thank you so much for being with us, and we will see you in the next episode.
Thanks.